last episode. You guys, thank you so much for the support from last episode. First of all, I guess I should have started off with welcome back for another episode here on the Calloused podcast. But I'm super grateful for the attention and interest in the episode with Josh from the Mana Project. He is in Mexico at the moment. He did make it. He'll actually probably be getting close to turning around and coming back at this point whenever this comes out. But while recording it, he is there, doing the Lord's work. So we're, super thankful for him, and definitely keep him in your prayers, as well as the rest of the Mana Project folk. Man, tell you what, daylight savings is more brutal than what I think I've ever thought it was, because it used to never bother me. But then again, I've just been like consistently tired anyways. And the funny thing is I talked about this on the other podcast too, Tin Roof, and this is my first week where I haven't been interviewing people, so it's interesting to be back by myself. And it was a struggle to record that episode in particular, because I was just so tired while I was trying to record Tin Roof. But I'm a little bit more awake. I have a really good idea of where I want to go with today's episode, and that was such a bummer / struggle. Was I had an idea, but it wasn't quite fully together whenever I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do for Tin Roof. But and that happens sometimes whenever you're doing stuff. So I had an idea of what I wanted to do with Josh while he was on here with me, and I wanted to talk some about Mana Project, as well as do a biblical lesson. But we ended up kind of running out of time. I didn't feel like my notes in my brain was quite where it needed to be. I didn't want to make him late for what he had to head to, and I felt like we had covered a lot of ground. So we didn't get a chance to have the biblical discussion that I wanted to have, and it's about friends, because friends are super, super important and a huge aid to the walk as a Christian. So I wrote a book on a biblical study on depression called Getting Unstuck, and it's available on Amazon. The link, I was supposed to update all of my follow me on stuff prior to even really getting podcasts started, and I don't think I did. So I need to put the link to the book in the description. That way you guys can check it out. But we are going to pretty much be discussing chapter 5 from that book today. And the reason being is I talked a lot about how a spouse is a really good friend, and what that means in the past episode. And I didn't necessarily mean to focus so much on that, but I did. And because of that, I was like, well, I need to discuss friends, because not everybody's married, and certain things look differently for other people. And so I really wanted to do that today. And I wanted to do it with Josh whenever we had that opportunity, but things didn't work out. So I had titled the chapter Friends, Real Good Friends. And that's because I am a country music fan. And there is a song by Tyler Farr. It's Blank Good Friends, so to speak, is the title of the song. But it's not a good word. But I've changed it to Friends, Real Good Friends, because we do need real good friends, and I don't cuss. So why is that so important? I want you to think back to the relationship between Jonathan and David. Jonathan being the son of King Saul, who in normal circumstances would be next in line to the throne. However, Saul lost favor with God, and so then David becomes anointed and is the one that's in favor with God and next to be king after Saul, which all of this angers Saul, and most of us would probably be mad uh, that our child would not get to take the throne after us. But Jonathan uh, did not share that same sentiment, and I think it's important to remember that, because uh, let's go to the Bible, because there's a point there that's really really big where Jonathan and David like get really like knit together. So we're gonna go to 1 Samuel 18:1. As soon as he had finished speaking to Saul, the soul of Jonathan was knit to the soul of David, and Jonathan loved him as his own soul. Well, what happened in the prior verses? Let's take a look. What happened prior to that is David and Goliath fighting, or well, like David slaying Goliath. There really wasn't a fight. So, uh, if you look at the last two verses of 1 Samuel 17, which is 58 and 58. I thought it was 58 and 59, but I can't read. So, and Saul said to him, "Whose son are you, young man?" And David answered, "I am the son of your servant, Jesse the Bethlehemite." And that's where we see the soul of Jonathan and David like become together. And there's even a part where Jonathan takes things to a whole nother level. It, well, like really shows his allegiance to David. I truly enjoy reading about the relationship that Jonathan and David had, and it's because it's very much like, hey, buddy, me and you, like, we're gonna take this all the way to the end, and I really enjoy that so much, and in particularly, I want to go to 1 Samuel 23:15 through 17. So David saw that Saul had come out to seek his life. David was in the wilderness of Ziph at Horish, and Jonathan, Saul's son, rose and went to David at Horish and strengthened his hand in God. And he said to him, "Do not fear, for the hand of Saul my father shall not find you. You shall be king over Israel, and I shall be next to you. Saul my father also knows this." Jonathan was like so cool with like not being that guy, like not being the next in line for the throne. And their friendship was so amazing, and you can see it throughout the entire thing. Even if we went to 1 Samuel 20:39 through 42, "Go in peace, because we have sworn, both of us, in the name of the Lord, saying, the Lord shall be between me and you, and between my offspring and your offspring forever." I just, and there's more to it than that. I only did a couple of verses from it. It's just so big. Like, they cried whenever they were going to have to be separated in that passage right there in 1 Samuel 20. It's such a great relationship. And then another really good one. Let's go to Ruth 1:14. "They lifted up their voices and wept again, and Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, and Ruth clung to her." Again, another huge relationship in the Bible. So Naomi's husband, Ruth's mother-in-law, had passed before her two sons were married, and then she watched her sons get married, only for them to pass early on in their marriages. So there's three women left here together, and Orpah decides to stay in that area, to like go back to her original home in that area, and Naomi's going to go back to Jerusalem. So all of that's getting ready to happen, and Ruth says, "I'm not leaving you. You and I are staying together." She cares so much for Naomi that she's going to stay with him. And I just imagine, um, Ruth and Orpah having this relationship with their mother where they're cooking meals and they're doing all these things while the men are in the fields, and like the sons and all these things, where they had that opportunity to have a different kind of relationship that was a big deal. They had each other, and they would be around each other quite a bit in those times. And so that's just that's another biblical example we have of a great friendship. And then I think of John too whenever I think about this, like John and Jesus. If you look at John 13:23, one of his disciples whom Jesus loved was reclining at the table with, like, at Jesus's side. And it cracks me up because John and Jesus definitely had a great you know relationship, and John John kind of just like puts it out there. Hey, I'm the one that Jesus loved, and so it could have been like a joke between him and Jesus in a sense. It could have been a lot of things, but I think it shows a lot of character for John that he would put that in there. Um, but John cared so much for Jesus, and it shows in John 19:26-27. When Jesus saw his mother and the disciple whom he loved standing nearby, he said to his mother, "Woman, behold your son." Then he said to the disciple, "Behold your mother." And from that hour, the disciple took her to his home. Such, you know, I'm going to read this word for word my from my book, because I paraphrased for the most part up to now, but I thought that this was, like, this paragraph here, I feel is a really, like, actually, like, good paragraph. So, such heavy words from our Savior while he's on the cross. It would appear that Joseph had passed on prior to the crucifixion, and none of the other brothers seem to be there with Mary while Jesus is dying. So, what does he do? He looks to John and says, in today's terms, "Please watch after my mother." Jesus really trusted John, so they must have had a great relationship outside of what we read in the Bible. I think about that a lot, because do you ever wonder about that? I've kind of hint on it at with all these ones that we've talked about. Uh, Jonathan was an outstanding archer, and David was a warrior. So, like, maybe they went out and did those things together. So did they hunt in their free time? Ruth and Naomi, maybe they would knit or do some other, like, artistic, crafty things. There's so much that we do as friends that we don't necessarily read about in the Bible them doing, but that doesn't mean that they didn't do those things. And so it's like, yeah, we read about these great friendships, but what kind of detail was there? And I think about, like, me being around my friends and how much I enjoy talking with them, and how happy and recharged I feel. Um, and even more importantly, they're Christians, and we can discuss biblical things, like how my buddy is a missionary and is going and doing those things, and I want to hear about what's going on in other parts of the world with God's kingdom, with my brothers and sisters of the church elsewhere, not just here. And it's great to hear those things, and for somebody to be able to chop it up about God's word with. And he's not the only one of my friends that I get to do that with. There's so many of them, and I appreciate every single one of them. And just friendship is so cool, and I wanted to make sure that we got that across, since I did spend a lot of time talking about a significant other. You can have a friend, a friendship that means so much to you that's where you go for these kinds of things. It doesn't necessarily always have to be a significant other. Although, like, if you are married, your significant other is more than likely your friend. So the whole point of this chapter also So the whole point about the chapter that I'm pulling these from is that it was a book on depression. If you remember from the beginning of the episode, I had said that. Well, this episode here really wasn't necessarily supposed to be about depression. It was more about having that great friendship with somebody. But if you have a friend that does deal with depression, or maybe you are the friend that does deal with depression, maybe just go ahead. It is good to go ahead and kind of hit on that, because that's whenever our friend is potentially needed the most, other than perhaps the loss of a loved one or something else. Because with depression, you could lose yourself. And so I'm going to read this paragraph word for word too. What about the times when it doesn't help improve the depression? You have battled depression. You who have battled depression know the times I'm talking about. The times when you put that brave face on the outside, but inside you're ripped apart and feeling defeated. Nothing helps. Those days is so hard for anything to help, huh? Prayer, a will to survive, and constant immersion into positive things are what I typically do to bat those days. Friends are even greater for those days. Why? Because you come in with that brave face, and you're determined to look like you're having a great time. Maybe it starts with just looking that way. But hey, at some point it's no longer just a look. There was something at some point during that brave time of hiding what was really going on, when there was an absolute positive that put you right back into that feel-good groove of being a happy person, even if it was just for a little while. Unfortunately, we will struggle, and that's okay. But remember how important it is to continue moving forward and being focused on the eternal. You are brave. You really are, especially when you're in this headspace. You choose not to give up and to continue to be an inspiration for someone. In moments like those, you can really find out who your friends are. And if you know country music, that's another uh, title to a country song. But man, friends are so important, and I'm so thankful that we have such amazing biblical examples of friendship. And so I hope this kind of helps you out, and it's kind of what I have for today. So take it, apply it to your lives. Questions, comments, whatever. I'd love to hear them. I thank you so much for those of you who do reach out to talk about how much you enjoy the episodes and everything. Follow if you're not following already. Give this video a like. Give me a review on Spotify. All that good stuff. That way we can keep growing and hopefully help some others with God's word. And thank you so much for being my friend. Even if we've never had, a discussion like face to face, hopefully, like, maybe you feel like you're sitting here having a conversation with me whenever we do these episodes. But thank you guys so much. I hope you have a great day, and see you next Thursday right here on the Calloused podcast.